Hi, also another update on the Horus Heresy Burning of Prospero box game. This time I'm going to take a little bit of time to look at the rules. I've just finished building the first 20 of the Mark III Iron Armour Marines and I need a break, so I thought I'd sit down and do this. So it said in the introductory video, it's a 32-page rulebook on a nice glossy paper. Really nice artwork in it, in a typical Games Workshop style. You know, there's lots of pictures, really well explained. I only had one read through of it, and it feels pretty simple. And then, really nice rules reference on the back. So what I'm going to do is run down this rules reference in each phase, and then give you my thoughts on how it works. Well, so we'll be doing some demos tomorrow, and I'll make sure I get some games recorded. So anyone who's interested, make sure you tune in again tomorrow. So each round, it consists of the following phases. There is the enumeration phase, which is the psychic phase basically. Let's see Thousand Suns cast their psychic powers, and the Space Wolves get to try and resist it. Then you have a movement phase, which you do a roll off for initiative, and then you move the entirety of one force, and then the other force moves. And it's important for the initiative because you can actually pin people in place and stuff like that. And then the attack phase, you after you finish moving, everyone on a certain zone, which is broken down on the tiles, gets grouped into a combat squad, and then the combat squads actually attack, and then you pick alternating squads. Then, let me just double check. Yeah, we're consolidation phase. So you reshuffle the cards back in. Any damage you've taken goes back in, and it's pretty simple, really clean. Anyone who's played the Betrayal at Calf game should know. Obviously, it's a very light game system. Really works really well actually. And looking at this, it looks much in the same vein. So for the actual figures, you obviously have the profile sheets. So the Thousand Suns one's first. It refers to the traitors and the loyalists basically. And it shows you all the different weapons you can build them with. So I'll go into, so I've been building the legionaries first, so I'm going to go into these ones here. So it's the normal veterans and then the veteran sergeant. So the way it works is, as you get formed into a combat squad, you would assess which dice you have for either your melee, your combat attacks, or your shooting attack. So we'll say we've got 3 Space Marines in a zone. So you have 2 with bolt guns and 1 with a plasma gun. So you gather the dice into a pool. It would be a pool with 3 dice with 2 d6s and a d8. Then no matter how many people are in the target pool, you gather the same number of die, and you'll look at, if you've got an armor stat. So for example, the Terminators have got the armor d10, so they get to replace one of the d6s with a d10. So you'll make 2 dice pools. So in this example, you've got 3 Space Marines all with 2 bolt guns and a plasma gun shooting at 1 Terminator in a zone. So Terminator picks up 3 dice. There'll be a d10 and then 2 d6s, whereas in the Space Marine, this shooting squad has got the d8 from a plasma gun and 2 d6s. And you'll roll, both people roll a dice pools, and then you compare highest result against highest result. So whoever gets the highest there wins. If the attacker gets a higher result, they get a wound. If the armor roll is higher, nothing happens. And you tier down, comparing second highest results, third highest results, until all the dice have been paired off. So nice, clean, easy way of doing it. There's a system for critical hits, so if you roll a 6 or higher, it will do 2 damage, unless it's cancelled. So obviously the dice go all the way up to a D12. You've got a D6, D8, D10 and D12. Some of the different weapons, for example, bolt guns use D6s, melter guns use a D10, heavy bolters a D10, plasma guns are a D8. The Ahriman's Hecker Staff is a D12. The Flamers are interesting in that they roll a number of dice equal to the people in the target zone before the normal shooting attacks begin. Grigor Fellhand's got an artificial wolf claw and combat knife who does a D12 attack in combat. But yeah, there's basically a good variety. Guardian Spears are a D10 for combat, D6 for shooting. The Silent Sisterhood have got the Executioner Great Swords for combat. They can do a D8. And it's all really well balanced in that aspect. People have been asking about the enumeration phase or the psychic phase. So you get a nice couple of different decks of cards. So firstly we'll look at the actual powers. They're broken down into the different temples. So you got like a Corvidae, a Pyre. They all have different abilities, and then each scenario will tell you which one you're using, and then you draw 2 randoms as well. Then the way they work is it's split into the willpower deck for the loyalists and the warp charge deck for 1,000 Suns, and then you go through the phase flipping 1 card, and then they'll flip a card until you've all flipped 3. Obviously these haven't been shuffled, and then whoever has the highest total after the cards have been flipped and any effects have been resolved will win that roll. If the 1,000 Suns win, the power goes off. If the Space Wolves win, it doesn't. And you've got different abilities and stuff, and then you can cast up to 3 powers in a turn, and that's one of the big levels, especially from what I was looking at in the early missions. Especially the 1,000 Suns feel outgunned, but it doesn't take into account the psychic powers. For movement, let's see if I can get the close up. So you can see the tiles here. Well, this one. So anytime there's a solid black line, that breaks them up into zones. So these 1,000 submarines here are in this zone. They could move 2 zones, so it could go 1 and 2. And it just shows you, this is an example for line of sight and stuff like that. So you don't need any tape measures or anything, it's all done just by counting off the zones, and all the scenarios have the maps for how you build them. So you can get a good idea there of how much space you have to work with, things like that. But yeah, it seems like a really interesting game. What else do I want to do? So all of the figures have a stamina value, which is how many wounds they can take. So for example, the Legion veterans have got stamina 2, Veteran Sergeant stamina 2, Ahriman has got stamina 4, and the Terminators are stamina 2. For the Loyalists, you have Legion veterans and Sergeants are the same. Grigor Fellhand is stamina 4 as well. Then the Custodius is stamina 3, and the Silent Sisterhood are stamina 2. And they add in special rules and things for each one. I don't want to go too in detail in this video, it's just a general overview. So the critical damage is obviously if you roll 6 or more, it does extra, And then we had the press the attack, which is if you win a combat, so that's fighting into an adjacent zone with your combat weapons, you can then push into that unoccupied zone afterwards. So just give you a little bit more control over the table. So hopefully that gives you a nice brief overview of the rules. I'm really looking forward to recording some of the games tomorrow. Hopefully you'll all join me for some more videos. I'm going to keep on building Space Marines and Custodians today, and maybe if I can get them done there'll be some painting going on later on. So tune into the stream on Twitch. Thanks for watching, everybody. You can find us at Dice Hate on Twitch, and I'll make sure I post the videos up onto YouTube as well. Thank you.